Max here, and welcome to
Take a Hike.
I'm here with my father, Jim, and we're going to be taking 3 days to hike over to Frick Pond, Quick Lake, and Hodge Pond. Come along for the adventure, and we'll show you what it's all about. We made it to Frick Pond, and there's a beautiful beaver dam. Great looking scenery. Nice place to stop and get some water. One of the nice things is they have a fair amount of signs. There's one there, one hiding over there, and there's one right there. Lots of areas to camp around the lean-to. It's got a nice little fire pit. Picnic table's kind of junk. Fortunately, I don't really get a view of the lake, which is right through there. When you decide to go fishing in the mud and you sink up to your knees, have the hammock all set up. Got a nice little view of what would be the lake out there. All right, heading out of Quick Lake right now. Dad and I spent the night here, and there's a lean-to. It's time to continue our trek because you need to
take a hike.
Let's go. Here we have a frog that still has his little tail.
So I've been asked what were some of my favorite memories of Boy Scout camp. I have to tell you, one of the stupidest things I ever did was, while I was the archery instructor and no one was around, one of the other camp counselors and I decided to have a competition. We each stood at one end of the archery range and shot arrows to try to see how close to the other one we could get without hitting them. Kids do stupid things.
How close did you get?
I think I got within a foot of his foot. He didn't come anywhere near me, but that was pretty scary. So now we're approaching the rifle and archery ranges. This was the rifle range, and right where I'm standing would be the stands for shooting. I would shoot over that way toward targets. And behind me, you can just barely see the remnants of what was a field. And that was the archery range. And the archery range ran parallel to the road. I was the archery instructor here in 1965 and 1966. It was a really good time. So over here on my right is the entrance that we used to come to the Beech Mountain Nature Preserve today. However, back when I was a camper and a staff member here at Beech Mountain Scout Camp, we entered over here to my left, down that hill. Approaching here, we had to pass the archery and rifle range. We're away from the main camp compound. Over here in this clearing right near the trees is where the office or headquarters building was. Everyone had to check in there. And to the left of that was just a nice area called the beach where the scouts used to like to spend a lot of time catching salamanders. So as I mentioned before, this is where the headquarters building was. And over on my left here, up this, it's a relatively steep hill, hard to tell by the vegetation, but along here there were 3 campsites up on top of this hill. So this clearing on my left is where the Nature Lodge originally was. And not much of a clearing today, but we would earn merit badges and do environmental projects along the stream. And they had a vast number of specimens on display, some turtles, frogs, snakes, whatever they could catch. This is where the kitchen staff stayed. There were lean-tos in here and the kitchen staff lived here. This field on my right is where the dining hall was located. And there would be as many as 170 kids in camp, so it was a pretty good sized dining hall. In addition to the campers, we had to feed the staff as well. Off to my left, this field was the parade ground. There was a flagpole here, and every evening before dinner, all the troops would assemble here, and they would take roll call and have announcements, and then we'd retire to the dining hall for dinner. This is the approach to the waterfront, and we'll be stopping there in a few minutes. Over here on my left is the site where the health lodge was. This is it was the camp hospital, as it were. Over on my right is the entrance to the scout skills or the campcraft area. This is where scouts would learn tying knots, pitching tents, and all wilderness skills. And this is our last stop. This was the waterfront. The concrete approach over here ended it right at the lake, and that's where the dock was originally. And the dock went straight out and had an L shape, and there were sections cordoned off for different swimming abilities. And behind me, about 500 feet up the shoreline, was a clearing where there was a chapel, and that's where they would have the Sunday services. Farther up, there's a clearing that had the council fire ring, and every Friday evening we would have a ceremony up there, and there were charades and games and skits and songs, and it was just a really good time for everybody.
See, usually 4 or 5 feet down into the water. If you want to go swimming, just bring swim trunks.
So another fond memory is we would come up to camp the week before the campers to set everything up. Get all the beds in the tents set up, the dock in the water, the boats. When all the work was done, we could just kick back. So a group of us did an activity we called gunnel pumping, which basically you take a canoe out into the middle of the lake, you stand up on the back of it, and you jump down and push it down into the water. And as it rebounds from the water, it moves forward. And we would have races, gunnel pumping. You could get the canoe moving pretty quickly. But if you were too close to each other, the wake from one would invariably upset the other canoe and the racer would fall off. That was always fun. Good times.
Well, here we are at the end. Thanks for joining us on this adventure. My dad and I had a great time over the last 3 days and probably 16 miles going to Frick Pond, Quick Lake, and Hodge Pond. The best one, of course, is Hodge Pond. Just a beautiful, beautiful lake to go swimming in, fishing in, and just walk around. Just great views. Quick Lake's not bad either. It's a long walk. It's pretty muddy, so make sure you wear some waterproof boots if you're gonna do that one. And the pond's not super impressive if you can't get to it because it's pretty muddy all the way around, but definitely worth the hike in and a nice little overnight camp out you can do. Make sure to check out some of the other videos that I've made and hope you had a great time traveling along through the Catskill Mountains with Max on Take a Hike. Did you know that a slug is just a snail that had a divorce and lost its house? Hello, little snail.